Hi, my name is Brian with Ace Appliance in Toledo, Ohio, and welcome back to another quality video from ApplianceVideo.com.
Alright, we have a LG washer, and the symptom we were getting was it was leaking, and it's leaking because of the boot has a hole in it here, or the bellow they call it. So to fix this, we're going to be, for this repair, we're going to be replacing our bellow. So we'll go ahead and get started. The first thing we got to do is the outer part of the bellow around the door here is going to have a spring clamp that we have to remove, and the part of it that you want to grab on is at the bottom here, the actual spring part of it. So we're just going to put a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, and get it behind the spring and kind of pull the spring out and off of our bellow. Now what we can do is take our bellow and flip it inside. The next thing we can do is take off our spring clamp for our hose that connects to the bottom of our bellows here. So the next thing we want to do is take off our hose connection that connects to the bottom of our bellow here. You can see where our hole was here. It's a big hole that was in the bellow. Just got a rip in it, and that's where it would leak at. So we're going to use a pair of pliers and just take off our hose clamp. And take the bellow port off of the hose there. We're going to take our clamp off and reuse it on our new one. Now that we got that off, our next step is to take our inner spring that holds the rear of the bellows to the outer tub off. If you prefer, some people prefer to take the front panel off so you have a little more room to work to get at that. We're going to attempt to do this with the front panel in place. It's usually how I do those. So it's going to be, you can see the spring clamp over on the right side here. So we're going to use our screwdriver again to pry that off of there. And as you're prying that, you can kind of just grab the whole bellows and it'll pull the spring off with it. So now we got that off, we'll separate the clamp here, our spring clamp there, and we're going to reuse that again. We'll get rid of the old bellows here and we'll install the new one. Alright, before we put on our new bellows, what you can do is to make it slide on a little bit easier for you is you can take some of your laundry detergent soap, and we're going to be just putting it around. This is the groove here that fits onto the outer tub. So we're just going to take some soap and run it around the whole bellow here. It'll allow us to move it back and forth if we need to once it's on there, and it's just easier for it to slip into place. So we're going to put this, once we get this all lubricated, we're going to put this onto our outer tub here, the lip of our outer tub, and then the spring clamp actually sits into here and tightens it in place so it can't come off. So the tub goes into this groove, the spring goes around to that groove. And when you're you want to take note of when you take the old bellows off where everything lined up at, so you can put the new one in the same position. The new bellows also has a indicator that they put on here. It's just this little piece of rubber, has a little arrow here, points pointing to the top. So basically that's going to be your top center position. They don't have something on this model to line up with this, so you're just kind of putting it in there where you think the center is. A lot of different washers will have something that you can line this up with on the tub. Also though, you can see at the bottom here where the water drains back into the outer tub from the hose inlet. You're going to be lining your hose inlet up with the bottom there. So there's a couple different ways that you can tell if you have it lined up right. Alright, so we're going to put her in place here. Get this notch top center, and also take notice where our hose inlet is at the bottom. so it's setting into place pretty good right now. You can see we got the hose and the port lined up down at the bottom, and our arrow's pretty centered at the top there. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to flip this in again to get it out of our way. So we're just working with the inner part of the bellow to the outer tub, and then we're just going to start putting that outer tub into the groove of the bellow, snapping it. It'll kind of snap in place as you go around. You'll feel it go into place. You just want to check it as you're going to make sure your position's staying the same. Everything's lining up. Alright, and that's lined up good. Once you get it on all the way, you're just going to want to take your fingers and run it all the way around it again to make sure it's all locked in into place and secure. And next would be putting the spring clamp back on. This, you can see the top portion of the spring clamp comes off easily from the spring. So we're going to take that off of there and work our spring back into place. It's going to go in the groove where we took it off from, back in that groove, and it will clamp the bellows down behind the lip that we put it on. You want to get this over between the two black counterweights so you have a nice opening to work with. Once you've made sure that your spring's in the groove all the way around, it's time to reconnect the spring onto the spring clamp here. And to do that, it's going to be the trickiest part here, is being able to pull that spring over the metal flange or the metal arm there that it goes on to clamp this bellow in place. I believe they sell a special tool for these LG spring clamps that you can use to get it on there easily. We don't have one with us, so we're going to try and use a couple pair of pliers on each side and pull it into place. And the upper part of the spring clamp that has the arm, it also has a little loop in it where you can grab onto with a pair of pliers, or I believe if you have the tool, it's where you would hook on the tool at. Alright, so we got that. Now that we got the spring on there, using two pairs of pliers to pull it together and latch it on there, latch the spring hole onto the arm there. We're just going to check and make sure that everything stayed in place, that the gasket, the bellow stayed onto the lip, and that the spring is where it's supposed to be, behind on the groove of the bellow behind the tub there, and that it's not loose or anything. So all that looks good. Our next step then is to reconnect our bellow water inlet or drain port here. So we're going to put back on the spring clamp we took off earlier onto the bellow. Slip that into place. And we're actually going to compress this spring clamp while we connect it to our port here. It's a little hard to do, not a lot of slack there, but you're going to just want to compress that spring with one hand and push the bellow onto the hose there. And release your spring clamp or hose clamp. Make sure it's all tight and seated all the way on. Now we can go ahead and flip out the bellow to the outside here, and then we're going to put it around our front lip here. So this groove of the bellow here is going to go onto the lip here. So you're just kind of pull back on the bellow and push forward to get it to go over top of that ring. And then double check that you have it in all the way around, snapped in place. Take your spring clamp that we took off from around here earlier, and we're going to get the spring part of it same position as we took it off from. It's going to be down here in the bottom center. We're going to install the top of this first. Just kind of set it onto the groove, and I'm going to work the left side onto the groove all the way to the left side of the spring clamp there. What we're going to do then is take a flathead screwdriver and hold the spring clamp in place on the left, and you're going to pull the spring clamp on the right and snap it around the bellow. This can be pretty tricky as well. You can use a pair of needle nose to help you pull it over. It'd be nice to have a second hand, the second person, third hand on this to help push it in place. So if you have a buddy or something that can help you while you do this part of it. So as you pull the spring apart, we're just going to lock it into place there behind the bellow. And then you just want to check it off, make sure it's locked behind the ring there and into the groove of the bellow. Alright, so we just replaced the bellow on our LG front load washer, and we're going to go ahead and run it through a test now and check for leaks.
Thank you for watching another quality video from ApplianceVideo.com.